Macy's, and Sam's Club are now part of my organization where we are doing a revenue sharing program. So go to my webpage, theuncensoredreport.com. Click on any of those 3 links and take advantage of some of the free shipping or discounts that you may get. In return, you're supporting the operation and allowing me to continue to get the message out, both locally, nationally, and internationally. Thanks for supporting the program. Check out My Patriot Supply. They got the straw there. That straw is great. I tell you what, folks, you can go out and basically, if we're in a critical situation and there's a massive hurricane, there's no water, guess what? You use these straws, the life straw, out there in the pond, and it cleans out all the water and gets you filtered water. How can you beat it? Check it out. Check the product and much more, and help support the operations at theuncensoredreport.com. Get some of this great apparel from theroguegrant.com or the Uncensored Report or thevinousscoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They say educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Vinous Scoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Just go to my website and click on the icon. Hey everybody, this is Frankie, and I'm here today to introduce Longevity. It's a great nutritional supplement to anybody that's eating right or not eating right. I take supplements on a regular basis, and Longevity cannot be beat, especially at some of the great price points. So go to theroguegrant.com or theuncensoredreport.com and click on shop. Go down to Longevity, click on it, and you'll be helping out the operations of the station so that we can continue to bring you a fresh perspective on alternative news. Longevity, check it out today. Good afternoon, everybody, or actually good morning. This is the Francesco Abbruzzino live news and talk show, and this is Frankie Abbruzzino, as my friends call me. We got a lot of stuff on the table today. We're going to be talking a lot about ISIS, the Ebola is back on the table with some issues that come up, and one story that I wasn't even able to get out that I'm going to cover too, involving the whole Ebola issue, question, whatever you want to term it. We're going to talk about troops. We're sending another 350 troops to Iraq. So are we getting deeper and deeper involved? Missing planes. How come we're still at a low threat level, even though the generals are saying different? Which segues into politicians. Are they lying to us? Why do they lie to us? Lost students on visas. We got a whole gambit of things to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, this is a one-man show. I do everything from the technical hosting to the research, website, everything. For 5 years, I've been doing everything free with my local media. I decided to take it up a notch. So whenever you see these advertisings on there, if something interests you, go to myuncensoredreport.com, which you're probably on now if you're watching this live or later on when you watch the recording. And click any of the links. You can still listen to the show. The link will take you to the page. You can shop around, listen to the show as you're shopping around, and it comes back to support the show. So let's go ahead and get started. I tell you what, we are going to start with a video first, and this is basically on the ISIS threat and how Obama said he wasn't aware of it. Now, keep in mind, ISIS is the old Al-Qaeda in Iraq. I was aware of it. I'm just a common idiot out here. How was he not aware of it? So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Global threats plaguing the world grows. Is U.S. intelligence doing enough to combat these threats and spotting them? Or are agencies like the NSA and CIA being misused and misguided? Here to weigh in, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Welcome back.
Morning, guys.
So, it is, the President of the United States has made it very clear we don't have a strategy, as if this is a sudden shocker that we didn't see on the radar. But our intel people knew about it, didn't they?
Well, either they did or they didn't. And if they did, they can't claim surprise. And if they didn't, It's because they've dispatched 60,000 agents to spy on Americans in the United States of America instead of on these monsters,
right,
as they started to acquire more wealth and more of our former military equipment and more geographical area in the Middle East. So for the government to say, oh, all of a sudden ISIS is here, either the government's not doing its job or the government is lying to us.
Where'd you get those numbers from, Judge? That was the 60,000.
That's from the 60,000 is from your friend Edward Snowden.
So he's the one who released this.
Yes.
Now, do you believe that those orders came from the White House, or is this the NSA going rogue?
No, I think this is from the White House, Brian. I think that the president, and this is just my opinion, is more concerned with wanting to know what Americans are doing rather than dispatching our intelligence agencies to find out what people who really can cause us harm are doing. So for them to say, this is the JV team, for them to say, all of a sudden they're on the scene, either them, meaning the government, either they're not doing the job or they're not telling us the truth. And neither is the government we should have.
So if this is a blatant disregard for the Constitution, then where's the outrage from the American people? Are we hearing it? I mean, this is their emails, their text messages, their phone calls, landlines, cell phones.
Two disregards for the Constitution. One is spying on innocent Americans without any evidence of criminal activity on the part of the Americans. The other is failing to keep us safe by allowing an entity the size and the magnitude and the ferocity of ISIS to develop without any resistance.
Now, theoretically, the NSA would be perfect for something like this, because what's the main threat from ISIS? Americans going overseas and coming back. So are they a terror threat when they go over and fight for ISIS and say, hey, okay, I want to come back to North Carolina or Florida? If we're monitoring that situation because we have a suspicion that they could have terror intentions, then the NSA would be doing its job.
Look, if somebody goes over to ISIS and fights against the Iraqi government, by the way, that's not a crime to fight against the against the Iraqi government. It's insane. And then they want to come back? That is absolutely a sufficient basis for the NSA to know what that person's saying and to whom they're saying and what their plans are when they come back. It would actually be a sufficient basis to prevent them from coming back.
There you have it, folks, and that's Judge Napolitano. That was actually on yesterday's show. But, you know, it begs the question, how does this guy not know about the ISIS threat? How does he not know about Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which is where these guys, the group these guys spun off from? It's impossible. So either he didn't know about it because the NSA was, like the judge said, too busy spying on 60,000 Americans, or he knew about it and he's derelict for not taking action on it. What was it, this morning or last night? I think it was this morning. He came out because he's over in Europe and he said, oh, we have a strategy, but he still did not outline said strategy. What is this strategy? And then they had a Pentagon spokesman, Admiral, I can't remember his last name. He's like, look, we've been in touch. We've known about this threat. Everybody's known about this threat. But again, if we knew why it hasn't there been a strategy, and I'll tell you why. Because Obama and his cronies have been funding them. They've been training ISIS. Of course they knew about them. The president came out this morning and said, we need to manage them. You need to manage them. Hopefully you'll do a better job than how you mismanaged the crisis before this. Do you need to manage them or do you need to destroy them? Because he basically said both in the same sentence. So he left a lot of questions still on the table. He tried to strike them down. Hopefully he's going to have a better strategy going into NATO, because right now he's got nothing. I was watching a show where they had an individual from England that came on and said, look, basically the European leaders have lost faith in Obama. We don't have faith that he'll do the right things, which is horrifying that they've lost faith in America. Do we have a coalition? It's a scary situation over there. And just on the 11 planes, you know, you talk about 11 planes missing from Libya and that Malaysian flight that's still missing. Yet we're not on an increased threat level. You have England's on a highest level threat level they can have, and which is a good idea, especially after that video I showed yesterday with the extremist. But the United States isn't. And a lot of people are concerned that those 11 planes, for example, could be used to launch some sort of attack. But we're not. We're acting as though they're the JV team and non-existent. Why? I don't get why President Obama does not want to acknowledge this threat. Now, over to ISIS, you know, you have Kerry, and Kerry saying, look, airstrikes won't defeat ISIS alone. And I somewhat agree. You can bomb ISIS to hell and back, just like we have Taliban, but you're not going to stop that ideology. So there has to be, the bombing is just one and variable out of several that need to be utilized to quell this threat. But I don't want boots on the ground, which I think is what Kerry's saying here. You know, he's out there describing this Islamic State threat with Iraq and Syria and the rest of the world, and saying we need to take action. But he says that Kerry's basically indicated that Obama would reverse itself on the presidential pledge to put boots on the ground. He's not going that far to say that they would reverse themselves, yet there's calling for much more full response. Now, they did add 350 boots on the ground. They're saying it's to protect their interest, but I think we have over 800 soldiers now on the ground there. And a lot of people, there was this one article out yesterday. It was from the Daily Beast. And they basically said when there was a major attack that took place yesterday, it was at the Mosul Dam again. And they basically said that the U.S. was air striking, but that there's people out there contending that United States armed forces were part of the attack that was led against Mosul Dam. There's been no confirmation, but you're getting people that are saying that. But you're also getting the Ukraine saying the Russians attacked them, and you haven't seen that. So you never know. The opposition in Syria is fighting the Assad regime, and as we know, this is where ISIS evolved from. Al-Nusra is there. So now you have... so somehow we have to come up with the support, build the nation support to go in there and fight ISIS. Yet, if we go into Syria to fight them, we're going to be promoting and supporting Syria and that Assad regime, which is something that many Americans, or something that many are against because in the Obama administration. Now, look, here's the issue. You know, I was listening to something today, and they said, you know what? We got to support these rebels because this Assad regime is bad. They're killing a lot of people. Do you think that Al-Nusra, which used to be part of ISIS, they thought ISIS was a bit too extreme, is going to be any better than Assad? Assad is like a little kid in the park compared to Al-Nusra. These guys are extremists that just want to kill. They want to impose their extreme theology of the Muslim religion on people, and they're just as bad, maybe not as harsh, but just as bad as ISIS. Now we got to look at our southern border too, and there's chatter out there which is indicating that the southern border is wide open, and that attack may come that way, and that's another concern. Is ISIS crossing the border? You got the Fort Bliss Army base down there, and the American Army post across from the border from Mexico. It's Juarez, which is crime ring, and they're on high alert. They said there's a potential attack, but Obama administration won't admit that this base is on high alert. Fort Bliss put out a news release describing the precautions that should be taken. And it says it said it included 2 normal open to civilian traffic and random inspections. So they're basically ramping up inspections. This is a result of several security assessments, according to this article. Now, in comes Judicial Watch. And Judicial Watch has issued a bulletin on Friday stating that the federal authorities are aware of the risk in Juarez, and they're aware of a potential attack by the Islamic State of Iraq, Syria, ISIS. They're citing high-level federal law enforcement, intelligence officers, and other sources that they've picked up radio talk and chatter as to this issue. But still, Obama's aloof. He's acting as though there's no issue. You had Breitbart. On Friday, they had obtained a document from state officials in Texas, from the Department of Public Safety, warning of a potential ISIS attack. This document illustrated pictures of that James O'Keefe had him on there trying to cross the border. dressed in Osama bin Laden clothes. You guys probably remember. I think I played it on here. Yet Obama's still aloof. He's thinking of his golf game, not of the JV team. Now, so many people out there have a concern. They have a concern about that soft underbelly. The soft underbelly of our southern border and how the terrorists can possibly infiltrate it. And it's been open for years. We've known about this. Now it's grown into a wider issue over this summer because of all the illegal aliens that have been coming in, because of the immigration law that he's been wanting to push. Rick Perry says he's been aware of it. You know, he's got his National Guard down there, and that's just a show because they can't really do anything. So the administration, that is one of its earliest and most cowardly decisions, refused to call anything a terrorist attack. The attack on the Texas Army base, that was not terrorist. I don't know what his I think Obama thinks that if he does not refer to it at them as terrorist or terrorist attacks or terrorist issues, if he refers to them as the JV team and basically minimizes them, that people will believe there has been no terrorist activity or action on his watch, which is a concern for him, and I don't know why. And he's jeopardizing American safety with this. But like I said, he was given detailed and specific intelligence about the rise of this Islamic State, guys. It's part of the daily briefings. It's been going on for a year. They knew about this before they seized great swaths of land and territory. And this is all according to the Pentagon, former officials there. He says that the classified intelligence community produced an analysis of this sensitive issue, said it was strong and granular in detail, and they provided it to Obama in a daily briefing, which he's known to personally read. He said Obama generally was not known to be to come back to the intelligence community with further requests or any information based upon these daily reports that he's reading. Not sure why, but he does read it. He is aware of it. And then the Obama team has suggested that the group only recently gained strength. Just in June, they just appeared out of nowhere. And they were totally surprised, suggesting that they were blindsided by the rise of ISIS, and the poor intelligence is to blame. But I'm here to tell you it wasn't poor intelligence. Obama knew about it. He knew about it. Now the feds are ignoring this whole ISIS border terror threat. Obama's responsible for Libya. Libya now has 11 planes missing. Where are those 11 planes? Are we vulnerable? Is Europe vulnerable? These are questions. But you're not hearing much from the rest of the media. Major media is pretty much silent. The only one that's maybe talking is Fox News and a bunch of the alternative sites. The Alex Jones is out there getting the message out. Few are even mentioning the Judicial Watch report that's out there, where they cited sources within the government that said an ISIS attack on the United States is imminent, especially in Juarez. But the government's too focused on domestic political enemies. They're too focused on the small-time Frank Abbruzzino, who's sitting here behind a laptop doing a radio show, than they are about ISIS. NSA, like I said, tracking 60,000 of the Americans. Is that why they didn't know about ISIS? Come on, think about it, folks. The FBI, in addition to tracking down who posted the nude photos of celebrities out there, is concentrating on non-Muslim terrorists, the domestic extremism, the next terrorist, the VA, the vet that has just gotten out. Me, I'm a vet. I'm doing alternative news. They're focused on people like me. According to them, the most prominent threat in America comes from the 8 types of domestic extremist movements that are non-motivated radical Islam. They're not Islamic. Such groups as anti-government militias, white supremacy extremists, along with sovereign state citizens, nationalists, anarchists, Should they watch them? Sure, you maybe keep an eye on them. You want to know what's going on. But are we the real threat? Are we the real threat? According to this report, you have lone actors and small cells that are inspired by anarchists, anti-government militias, the white supremacy, all those groups I mentioned. And they seem to think, the government seems to think that they will engage in lethal violence. And so we want to focus on them. The DHS, FBI, DOJ, state police, they all believe political opposition in America is the real terrorist and not ISIS. And why? Because they're funding, they're training ISIS over there. ISIS is doing what the American elitists, the globalists want. The absence of Islamic terror in the FBI assessment is hardly surprising, given that previous reports produced by the agency and Homeland Security never really mentioned this stuff. They just love to focus on, as Holder did in a video that he sent out to the Department of Justice, he stated, "We face an escalating danger from the self-radicalized individuals within our own borders." How can an FBI report not have anything about ISIS in a terrorist report? But they're focused on the domestic veterans returning home, the alternative news people that are out there voicing issues that are not being aired over propagandist commercial media. In 2012, the agency put out hotspots of terrorism and other crimes in the U.S., and it characterized Americans who are suspicious of centralized federal authority as terrorists. They're extreme right-wing terrorists. And largely omitted the whole Islamic terrorism threat. This report didn't even mention the World Trade Center's issue back in 93. In 2011, DHS produced several PSAs out there depicting non-Muslim Americans as terrorists. Non-Muslims. Now, are they out there? Sure. But is that our greatest threat? Think about it. The documents produced by the government demonstrate the establishment is more concerned about political opposition at home than Islamic terrorism abroad that could cross our border at any time, our unprotected southern border. That Judicial Watch report, it revealed the possibility of a terror grabbed by a group that has repeatedly demonstrated its desire to attack civilians and military forces. But the establishment media, the commercial media, and if you haven't been on my previous shows, I refer to them as the commercial media because they're basically propagandists for the companies that are paying for their advertising. They're also the propagandists for the government. I don't like referring to them as major media anymore because they're not major media. Many of us do not get our news from them because we know it's tainted. And we go to several sources. But you also have Obama out there saying that social media is to blame. That they're not really extremists. That it just seems like they're more extreme because social media is playing it over and over. You also have ISIS out there utilizing social media to their advantage to get their message out. The chopping of another individual, his beheading yesterday. Social media to communicate that message. All right, these are all concerns, folks. And I got to sit here and I just, for the life of me, cannot imagine. And it's almost scary that Obama is so disconnected from reality. It's concerning. It's concerning at a great level. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Is your money manager giving you safety and security? Wouldn't you like to make your money work harder for you? Then you should consider joining philsgang.com, where thousands of individual investors have successfully profited.
This year I'm up 60% on my portfolio. Following your system has been fantastic. I've been with you for about a month and a half now, and I'm already up 7%.
I've been in the business for a long time, and you're really one of the best I've ever heard.
Well, I just want to let you know what a great teacher you are.
For over a decade, Phil'sGang.com's Phil Grandy and Donald Cogswell have been teaching, coaching, and investing right along with all Phil's Gang members.
I want to thank Donnie for market rep. I bought 2,500 shares of AUI and sold it this morning at $820 profit.
Why not join thousands of satisfied Phil's Gang customers today? Go to Phil'sGang.com, Phil'sGang.com, or call 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264. Call today.
1-800-PET-MEDS. Yes, get your pet essentials, your medicines, your collars, everything you need online. And guess what? You'll be supporting the operations of this great station, the Uncensored Report. So go to my website, click on the icon for 1-800-PET-MEDS, and help us continue the information war that's going on out there. Okay, I'm back, and what I wanted to continue this conversation. Not directly with this but about that whole terrorist threat out there. And, there was an individual on a news station yesterday, I think it was, and he said, look, you can't just focus on ISIS. What you have to focus on is the region. And you can't focus on America having the solution. You need the countries, the Jordans, the Saudi Arabias, the Egypts, to come together and come up with a solution for fighting this extremism. You need to change the mindset of the people within these countries. Like I said before, there's a lot more variables to it than just going off and dropping a bunch of bombs on these people. Dropping bombs is not going to change anything. It's probably just going to help it to flourish. The anger over America will only resonate every time you drop a bomb on them. It's like the corner drug dealer. You can lock up the guy on the street corner that's selling the drugs, but he's going to be replaced. And until you change that mindset of the people purchasing and the people selling, you're not going to win this war on drugs. But here's Obama again. He authorized 350 American troops to go into Iraq. And I said this earlier in the store, and he's in the show. He's saying he's charging them with protecting U.S. diplomats in Baghdad. But are they? A lot of times you hear about this. We got 820 troops over there. You have some people that are saying that these individuals were involved in the attack on the Mosul Dam. And you almost have to believe that's true, because basically you need boots on the ground to direct the aircraft to the targets with their laser lights, with everything else that's involved. So you got to think there's involvement. But the White House doesn't want you to know that. They're out there with the story that it's just there for protection of American citizens in Baghdad. I tell you what, if that situation's so extreme, they probably shouldn't be there in Baghdad. Just like they shouldn't have been there in Tripoli, but they were. So 820 American military troops are operating in Iraq. And again, the White House is saying they will not serve any combat role. And that the Defense Department is the one that's approving this. I don't know if I'm buying all that. Because in this move basically comes as the United States looks to set up efforts to combat this ISIS group in Iraq. Which now Obama's admittedly saying, it's a threat to all the Middle East. Not the world, not the globe, not the United States, the Middle East. That's it. They're still the JV team, but at least now they're a threat. Aside from sending troops there, we're also sending Secretary John Kerry, the idiot, and Chuck Hagel. They're going over there, and some other advisor, Lisa Monaco, to the Middle East in order to build a stronger partnership. Because what they're looking for is that coalition of the willing, or whatever they're calling it this time, that will go in together to give Obama political cover. So they conducted, like I said, another attack on the Mosul Dam. They killed, they don't know if they killed anybody, but they say they damaged 16 Islamic State vehicles. Those are basically pickup trucks with guys on machine guns in the back. This dam is strategic because they fear that if blown up, that up to 50,000 people could die, thousands, hundreds of people if the dam is breached. I don't know if I'm buying that. And how about the planes? And guys, the planes disappearing in Tripoli happened last month. Yet we didn't hear about this on any of the major media. Last month, Islamic radicals seized the Tripoli International Airport, and they took possession of 11 commercial jetliners. And yet you don't hear anything about it. Stolen planes. So now there's a new concern out there, a greater concern. Where are these planes? There's fear that the militants may use them to carry out terrorist attacks against America, against Europe, another 9/11 type of event, especially with a lot of the chatter that is going on out there. You have Bill Gertz, he's a veteran reporter, and he states that U.S. officials said they received intelligence indicating that 11 commercial aircraft could be used in an attack on New York City or D.C., again, on the anniversary of the 11th. Tripoli Airport is currently occupied by two rival groups that are fighting. They're both terrorists. They're fighting each other, the Misrata and the Zintan. They previously worked together to overthrow Gaddafi. Now they're in a power struggle, and they're fighting each other. I tell you, these groups do it all the time. Same thing happened in Syria, basically. The rebel groups are fighting each other plus Assad. But they announced that basically Libyan forces officials came out on Monday saying, look, Tripoli's lost. We're losing the battle. Thank you, United States, for creating this vacuum. You know, Gaddafi might have been an idiot, just like Assad, but I'd rather have Gaddafi in there than some of these extremists. It's just like Mubarak. Mubarak, the U.S. helped get rid of that guy. I tell you what, I'd rather have Mubarak in there than the Brotherhood. So, more information to be concerned about out there, and more concern that we should have towards this whole issue. But then you go back, and you got to think, why isn't Obama more concerned about this? Why is it just Frank Abbruzzino behind a laptop that's worried about this? And that's because the United States Army, the Obama administration, is more worried about battling anti-government dissidents. And they've even drawn up plans. There's battle plans out there to fight them. Future operations to neutralize these groups. But why? And this is with the Army, folks. They're preparing to fight political dissidents who challenge the power of the elitist. And they're thinking these mega cities will become the battlegrounds. And this is a report out of the Army Times. And this article detailed how the Army's ARCIC, the Army's Capabilities Integration Center, worked with U.S. Armed Special Operations Command to create a plan, a strategy. That's right, we got a strategy to battle domestic, but not ISIS. But a strategy which will revolve around the neutralization of groups who can influence the lives of the population while undermining authority of the state. Think about it. I mean, this is just a chilling, vague description which could be easily applied to any political dissident that's out there. And this plan foresees a unprecedented realignment of U.S. military strategy, which is focused on putting boots on the ground in these mega cities to deal with the politically dispossessed populations while they are relying on more lethal and autonomous methods. And basically, it is inevitable that at some point the United States Army will ask to operate the megacities, and currently the Army is ill-prepared to do so, so they put out these manuals. This report also states that the U.S. Army will utilize direct energy weapons, which would allow U.S. forces to have direct fire capabilities with significant logistic reductions. The article also cites a recent report by the Australian Army, which identifies the fact that these cities represent the battlegrounds of the future. Confirmation that the U.S. Army is preparing to fight disaffected groups and individuals who attempt to undermine authority of the state, which could apply to a whole host of perfectly legal political activities, is particularly concerning. And it's concerning given the recent militarization of the police and the response we've seen like out of Ferguson, Missouri. And the question is, will citizens who undermine the authority of the state by espousing these beliefs also be the future target? In this new doctrine, am I the future target? You know, they built the Army has a fake city. It's like 300 acres. It's a fake city. It's supposed to represent for training on Islamists, but you go there, there's a Baptist church. It looks like a normal American city. Banks, schools, underground subway. And they're using that for training. Training for whom? It doesn't look anything like any European Islamist state. It looks like some small city in the United States. So, you know, basically, while the border remains open, you got ISIS flowing through it like crazy. You got all kinds of potential issues out there. He's more focused on dealing and quelling the domestic issues, the domestic terrorists, the people that oppose his political beliefs. And it's not just Obama. You would see this with any Republican in office, too. And that's when I have such issue with this two-party system. But that's for a whole other story. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Have you thought about fluoride, how it's dumbing us down? Why don't you give Fluoride Shield a try? Or how about Survival Shield to help you get the iodine that's been taken out of our salts? Give both of these products a try. Just go to theroguerat.com or theuncensoredreport.com. Click on my shop area and click on the InfoWars icon. It'll give credit to the operation and help us continue to get the message out there. Have a great day. Hey everybody, this is Frankie and I'm here today to introduce Longevity. It's a great nutritional supplement to anybody that's eating right or not eating right. I take supplements on a regular basis, and Longevity cannot be beat, especially at some of the great price points. So go to theroguerat.com or theuncensoredreport.com and click on Shop. Go down to Longevity, click on it, and you'll be helping out the operations of the station so that we can continue to bring you a fresh perspective on alternative news. Longevity, check it out today. All right, now I wanted to go into the Ebola and CDC and some of the warnings that they've been putting out that you're not hearing too much about. We heard, like I've said, I've been covering this since it came out, and around 100 deaths, you started hearing about it more on major media. And then around 1,000 deaths, you heard about it more, especially since 2 doctors were infected. But there's another American doctor that's infected now, but you're not hearing too much about that. And a lot of the issues that are coming out of there. And basically the CDC is saying, look, the window's closing to stop Ebola, and that it's starting to spread, and they're starting to really get concerned more than they were before. And the director of the CDC has warned, we need to take action before this goes global. Todd Frieden stressed the need to step up efforts to combat the virus, which he says is spiraling out of control in Africa. And he outlined how hard it is to care for Ebola victims and the burial teams to keep up with the death toll. And he's saying, look, you guys in America, you could sit there, but you're not immune from this. So right now, there's the breakout, and people are saying this could exceed 100,000 by December. Basically, they say that the news, we all know this, but the news is basically muting the major concern out there ever since the 2 American doctors were cured. The deadly contagion is spreading, though. And the WHO says more than 40% of all Ebola cases thus far have occurred just in the last 3 months. That's 40% in the last 3 months, folks. And to them, that's suggesting that it's building steam. And researchers are trying to figure out how far Ebola may spread, and that's where they're coming up with possibly 100,000 cases. And they're extrapolating this from the existing trends and the numbers that are out there. And they're basically saying that the current efforts to control it are out of control. And you see it like the report. Let me see if I have it up here. No, I don't have it up here. But here's the case here. You have the individual yesterday, an individual that was infected with Ebola, and he just disappeared. And it's an article that just came out prior to me coming on the show. But then you have this other article, and this is from IntelliHub, where they say Ebola patients are fleeing their isolation facility. And this is just on that robbery. And it was basically a mob came in, they're leery of the government, and they came in, they robbed this Ebola place. A bunch of the Ebola victims ran off. The people took blood-stained sheets, vomit sheets, and everything with them that had the infection on it. And this was in Liberia, and one of the nations that's most affected by this whole virus. So these people came in, they did all of this, and now the concern is that as many as 50,000 people who live in that immediate area of the facility have suddenly become a risk of developing the virus. But they're not doing anything to control it. You know, I think there's been over 1,200, 1,300 deaths now from it. But several locals in this Liberian capital of Monrovia may be impacted, and that's all due to this August 16th attack on there, where protesters went into this quarantined area and started robbing everything from there. And a bunch of the infected people left. And many patients who fled there still have not been tracked down, folks. People with the virus still haven't been tracked down. People with the stained sheets still have not been tracked down. So there's a fear that it could spread, especially in the slum regions. The chance of the disease spreading rapidly and is extremely high, they're saying. But why would anyone want to break into this facility and steal sheets that are stained with the disease? Who would be motivated to do such a thing? What purpose of spraying? Do they have of spraying, taking the stuff and virtually spreading this incurable disease? Whether it is or isn't, the virus is indeed spreading, and possibly from this situation and others like it. With 142 new cases recorded, they now have over 2,615 cases, over 1,427 deaths. And we should take notice. We should take notice to this, people. This Ebola virus is basically turning towns into ghost towns over there. You have, in Liberia, you have the traditional funerals and ceremonies, and they basically have almost come to a halt because of this outbreak. Whole villages are turned to ghost towns as residents are afraid to leave their homes. And I would be too. They're sitting in there afraid that they're going to get this infection, this Ebola. In some parts of Liberia, the only burials are by men in full gear, protective gear. Liberian citizens are at the last starting to understand the severity of the outbreak. At first, they thought it was the government, and some distrust with them, and believe in the communications they were putting out. But now they're starting to get it. And several towns, they've just abandoned the areas. If they were heavily infected, they've abandoned it and said, we're taking off. We're not staying here. And sadly, like I've said, this is not diminishing, folks. But you don't see as much attention on it focused here in the United States. You see that they're prepping, but you don't hear about it out there. And they are prepping. Many are prepping across the country. The Center CDC and U.S.-based hospitals maintain the likelihood of Ebola spreading to the U.S. is extremely low, but we're going to prepare for it just in case. Just in case it gets here. And the way we have this global economy now, folks, it's knocking on our doorstep if it hasn't already invited itself in to our lovely, lovely neighborhood. And you see issues like this where the feds lost track of 6,000 foreigners that came here on student visas. What if any of them have Ebola? What if any of them are extremists that want to blow up a plane into the World Trade Center? 6,000 foreigners on student visas. We have 50,000 students overstayed their visas just in the past year. Of that, the 6,000, they can't track it all. That's a large number, folks. They just basically, you get your student visa, I'm a foreigner, and I just disappear. Think about it. I'm a tourist. I just want that visa to get me in the United States. They disappear. They're off radar. That's what happened in 9/11. Some people involved in the 9/11 attacks and the 1993 attacks were visitors that overstayed their student visas. But the government continues to grant these visas. They have little oversight on them, and we should be concerned. And, some of them are for ridiculous things, student visas, like beauty school, massage schools, horseshoeing, how to horseshoe. These are some of the U.S. visas we're given for student grants. So, I'm worried that the federal government's lax enforcement of these immigration laws is going to make us susceptible. Make us susceptible to some type of Ebola, TB virus, whatever it be. Susceptible to terrorists. Now, we're gonna take another break, and then we're gonna come back in. We're gonna talk about why is it that the government seems to lie to us? What do they get from it? Why are they doing this? We'll be right back. Check out My Patriot Supply. They got the straw there. That straw is great. I tell you what, folks, you can go out and basically, if we're in a critical situation and there's a massive hurricane, there's no water, guess what? You use these straws, the life straw, out there in the pond, and it cleans out all the water and gets you filtered water. How can you beat it? Check it out. Check the product and much more, and help support the operations at theuncensoredreport.com. Get some of this great apparel from therogrant.com or the Uncensored Report or thevintascoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They say educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Vitascoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Just go to my website and click on it. All right, I'm back. Now, we have to wonder, why do politicians lie to us? Why does anybody lie to you, for that matter? But politicians, why do they lie about us about so many different issues out there? And that's what we're going to investigate. We're going to see if we can delve into it. Because when faced with the highest levels of unemployment in American history, why does the government out there trumpeting that it's a falling unemployment rate, when in reality it's more like 15% because they're cherry picking the numbers? How about inflation? Why do they lie to us saying that there's no inflation, yet I go to the store and I'm witnessing inflation? That's because they're cherry picking those numbers again. So you got to, basically we're in the face of overwhelming evidence of ineptness at the best. And from everything, let's look at Benghazi. Why do our hacks and other flacks insult us with answers like, dude, this was 2 years ago. Why are you worried about it? How about the politicization of the IRS? Why does the president tell us that there's not a smidgen of corruption in the IRS? While professional bureaucrats who really run the country take the fifth. They stonewall. They lie. Anybody that has looked at the documentation out there knows that there was some targeting by the IRS. The corporations, once known as mainstream media, corporate media, government media, they regale us as oxymoronic statements such as, despite the unemployment rate plummeting, more than 92 million Americans remain out of the labor force. The Great Recession, it grinds on in the lives of everyday working people while our leaders talk about a recovery. Folks, if there's 90 million people 92 million Americans that are unemployed, guess what? There's no, that unemployment rate is fake. I mean, how can they sit there and say that unemployment is falling, yet 92 million people are out of jobs? They can't sit there and think about it and say, wait a second, these two numbers aren't making sense. These two statements aren't making sense. The shoes in Benghazi scandal. They're dropping. They're dropping. They continue to drop. Finally reaching the point where go along to get along. John Bonner, Bonehead Bonner. He's agreed to allow the House to vote on the establishment of a select committee to look into it. What difference does it make? He needs a select committee to look into it. We all know what happened there. It's documented. It's recorded. But many people still sit there and say, well, the government's saying this, so that's the truth. Under Obama regime, the tax man cometh. IRS is out there harassing conservative groups. Oh, no, they're not. Progressives were targeted too, they say. For months, the Democrats and the media relied on talking points that the progressive groups also ended up on the IRS list. But they weren't there. IRS agents testified before the House Oversight Committee that the IRS scrutinized acorn groups because they thought they were the old groups applying for new ones. The group Emerge America was scrutinized, they said. But there's no evidence exists that this ever took place. Only 7 applications in the IRS backlog contain the word progressive, all which were approved by the IRS. They weren't shot down like the Tea Partiers. Or how about no White House involvement? It meant while the IRS may have been corrupt to its very Washington core, President Obama and Valerie Jarrett have not yet been photographed shifting through Tea Party applications or sitting at the desk in the Lincoln Room. But we know they were involved. But they haven't been photographed yet, so there's not an iota, a smidgen of corruption going on. It was just a couple rogue agents, right? A couple rogue agents out of Cincinnati. Ah, yes. WKRP in Cincinnati. February of 2013. You know, the episode where the wacky characters in Cincinnati office make a little whoops and take it upon themselves to target conservatives nationwide? Just those 2 rogue agents. But this isn't the truth, folks. At least 5 different offices ranging from Chicago to California were engaging in this kind of confusion. And the Cincinnati-based IRS official said, hey, Washington's basically throwing us under the bus. They were involved. Lerner can still cite the Fifth Amendment. No, she can't. But that's what her lawyer is saying. He wrote in a recent letter to John Boehner and Eric Cantor when they were talking about a possible contempt vote. He said it's un-American. But it's not. Lerner waived her Fifth Amendment privilege. She can no longer take the Fifth. Bottom line is, it's going to take years to figure and shift through this stuff. But you have Judicial Watch in there, and they managed to obtain emails showing that some of the communications that took place between Lois Lerner about this issue, yet you have the top IRS Commissioner, John Koskinen, saying, oh, it's just too time-consuming, too involved, we can't do it. Judicial Watch got information they were looking for just by doing a FOIA. Yet for this IRS top official, head commissioner, it's just too involved. But we don't have to worry because government investigators are on top of it. Eric Holder's department is on top of it. And they've been tapped by Obama to look into this whole issue. Isn't that great? Does that leave you with that warm, comfy feeling? That the people involved there, look, it's basically this investigation was a joke. The Justice Department has been only investigating body to ask Lois Lerner questions. Off the record, Q&A. They're not serious. They're not serious, folks. And bottom line is only Tea Party's groups were targeted. You know, good for them. Taking action against these wacky Tea Partiers. These terrorists. The IRS also audited the Leadership Institute, which has been one of Washington's area's most foremost conservative activists, training organizations. So it's not just the Tea Party. not just those wacky folks out at the Tea Party. They've been targeting other conservative groups. Just ask Ron Paul and his group, Campaign for Liberty donors. So why did they lie to us? Why did they sit there and say they're not doing something that they do? Why do they sit there and tell us that there's no inflation when there is? Why do they tell us that there's no unemployment when there is? The easy answer is because they can. The major media has morphed from a watchdog to a lapdog, barking to the cue that everything is all right. There's nothing to see here, so move along. The best money can buy, the best government money can buy, they can safely operate on the assumption that American voters choose their leadership based upon that philosophy. I know he's a liar, but I like what he has to say. He's a great speaker, that Obama. So, basically, you don't know why they lie. But they lie because they can. Because the American public will believe what they're dishing out. And it takes, I think the issue is a lot of times it's just too difficult to go out and research and dig through all the information that's out there to try and find out the truth. And they make it difficult. From local level to federal level, state level, I can attest to that even on a local level. It's so difficult to get information. If you don't know where you're going, it's exponentially difficult. And nobody really wants to get you the information. You can ask for X, they'll supply you X, but you should have asked for Y, but they won't let you know that. And it's all, and I don't think any government employee has any ill, I hope not, except Lois Lerner, has any ill intent in trying to keep you from the information. But that's just how their train of thought is. Unless they ask for something specific, just give them what they ask for. Even though they know that what you need is this other piece of information. So, that's the show for today. Sorry, I was a little off today. For some reason, I got a million things going on with my business that actually brings in money, so my thoughts aren't on the show today, and it should have been. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 in the morning. We do the Saturday show, which is a local show, which I generally tape tomorrow night. And remember, check out my website, purchase anything off there, continue the operations. And it's not just for the show. It's so that I can continue to try to bring the best in terms of media for my local and international Facebook and website stuff. So it goes beyond just this basic show. And actually on this show, on this channel, what I'm thinking about doing is conceptual. It's just offering other people that want to get out here and talk slots on here. So if you do an hour show and you're interested in getting on here and just speaking your mind, let me know. You can't, I don't know if we can do it live, but recordings we can definitely pull off. So we'll see what we can pull out of here. But for Francesco Abbruzzino, this has been another Francesco Abbruzzino live news and talk show. Everybody have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. 1-800-PET-MEDS. Yes, get your pet essentials, your medicines, your collars, everything you need online. And guess what? You'll be supporting the operations of this great station, the Uncensored Report. So go to my website, click on the icon for 1-800-PET-MEDS, and help us continue the information war that's going on out there. Icon. Get some of this great apparel from theroguegrant.com or the Uncensored Report or thevinousscoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They say educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Vinous Scoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Just go to my website and click on the icon.